It is time now for your main event. Past the Rock presents Roayle. And introducing your host from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Introducing first your producer, Patrick. And last, the hater in chief, Caesar. Now ring the bell and start the show.
This is Past the Rock.
All right.
Welcome everyone to the highly anticipated WrestleMania Night 2 recap coverage review. Slight delays because I got too drunk to do it one day, and and this is the next time that fit our schedule. So my apologies to everyone for that delay. And definitely my apologies to Caesar for not being available that night. But you know, sometimes you go to a concert and you just you enjoy it too much.
Yeah, listen, I made it work. Like you hit me up. You're like, yeah, I don't think I'm sober enough to do this, and I'm like, that's fine, man. I am logging in a bunch of hours into this Persona 3 Reload game for those who.
Yeah.
So those who might be familiar with that series, and I'm like, all right, fuck it.
You're like,
I proceeded to play like 5 hours.
like I'm only 200 hours in, so I still got a lot to go.
Yeah, I was like, listen, I'm barely crushing or hitting that 50-hour threshold. I need to put in more work in this thing. So
speaking of getting drunk, I used to get drunk and watch my buddy play through Persona 4 on Twitch. Great times.
Nice.
Game.
I'm glad you're familiar with the series then.
A little bit. I'd like to play it someday, but I just know the amount of time it takes. I don't know that I can properly invest it in it without it taking me like 2 full years to get through one.
One of my friends it's taken him like 4 years.
It's just a lot
to finish the game. It's a lot, but like once you get into the thick of things, time passes by so quickly. But,
it's not it's that actual amount of hours it would take me. I can't start it in good faith.
Yeah, you just need to dedicate like one day every 2 months to just put in 10 hours.
I'm still only halfway through Hogwarts Legacy because my work busy season started back up, and now I just can't. But anyways, wrestling. This is a show about wrestling. So if you saw any of our Night 1 recaps, you're good to go. If you didn't, go back and watch those. We cut them up into small bits. You don't have to watch all the hours at once. But we're just gonna go ahead and dive on in here to Night 2.
Night 2, which by the way, I know I'm eagerly anticipating your thoughts on and about the show, but enough time has passed for me to call this probably the best WrestleMania I've ever seen.
That's good to hear.
Because we will go into why I feel that way, but Night 1, which I thought was a little bit of a letdown for what my expectations were, I just, I didn't see the vision. Night 1 was truly the setup for what was going to be a tremendous Night 2.
Yeah, and obviously they're gonna, and we'll get to some of this in another episode later on. But in the Raw following, they talk about it as the best WrestleMania, and for me, I'm like, well, they have to say that. But it's good to know that some of the fans felt that way as well.
Yeah,
because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been a very popular sentiment recently. So I mean, there's definitely plenty of WrestleManias that are in contention. Like WrestleMania 30, WrestleMania 17, I believe, is one that's highly talked about. I believe 18 is also talked about very fondly. And there's a couple others here and there as well. But this is definitely up there as one of the best, top to bottom. Some WrestleManias are carried by like 2 or 3 matches. I felt like this one was
deep, balanced
all the way throughout. Yeah,
nice. Well, we did have an announced attendance from Night 2 of 72,755. Then we got the 2-day total where Snoop Dogg said it was 145,420. And then later on, they had to correct him because the graphic obviously showed not exactly that. It was 145,000 298.
I love
But
Snoop, man.
Good bit. You gotta love Snoop.
And they put Snoop on commentary, and that was fantastic. But we'll talk about that when we get there.
Yeah, we'll get to that. It kicked off with they're like, "Where's Cody Rhodes? No one's seen him. He's in his trailer all day." And I thought that always makes me laugh. What is it? What is the word? How do you pronounce? Is it kayfabe? Is that how you pronounce that word?
Yes, sir.
Some of that it takes some getting used to, but once you're in, it's all good.
Yeah, it's just basically getting into that part of it's getting to the suspension of disbelief, and then once you suspend it, you're in for a good ride as long as what is happening is entertaining, which it certainly was.
And then I will say, because I kind of clowned on the night 1 Meek Mill intro, I thought the night 2 Meek Mill intro was significantly better, and actually felt like it was pumping me up and was less like an NPR piece on Philadelphia or something.
Yeah, I definitely missed the intro for him again. I was racing against the clock to get to my buddy's apartment. And by racing against the clock, I meant that we had ordered a bunch of food.
Yeah, I was gonna say we did record the night 1 stuff that day, so you were kind of up against it with with me asking you a bunch of questions.
Oh yeah, no, you're good. But that wasn't even the part that I was racing up against the clock against. It was we ordered a bunch of food, and I was the designated pickup guy. So I go to pick it up. Food's not ready. This is a Korean joint, and I was like, I know this place. It takes a while for the food to come out. Let me get a little bit of soju.
Which spot?
It's called Yurian Chicken in Carrollton, near the Hebron area.
Yeah.
Great Korean wings. If you're local to the DFW area and it's not too far out of your way, highly suggest that place. Get the spicy Korean wings, whether you're doing boneless, bone-in, whatever. Obviously, they're not a sponsor, but that place.
Yeah, I'm down to promo good Korean food all the time. I don't know if I've been to that one specifically yet, but I'll add it to my list because we've been to pretty much everywhere else over there. So.
Oh yeah, so this one is closer to Hebron.
So it's not in the main.
It's not in the Old Denton Road strip mall area. It's a little bit further north, I guess you would say, or
I think I've seen
whatever.
A bunch of Instagram ads. I think that's why I'm familiar. Because now those just get pumped to me all the time. So
yeah, it's a really small place. You walk in, K-pop's blaring, and they have these little buttons where you are at your table. You press a button, it makes a chicken noise, and your server comes to your table. And it's just a great spot, man. Great spot. But anyway, the food does take a while. It is made to order, and I was like, all right, I'll be fine. I'll just order a little bit of soju. By the time I finish the bottle, the food will probably be ready. Food was ready halfway through the bottle, and I looked at the time. I'm like, fuck. Okay, I misjudged all of this. So I chugged down the rest of the bottle, get in my car. I'm like, I have about 7 minutes before this hits me all at once. And the drive from that place to my buddy's apartment is about 5 minutes. So I'm like, all right, as long as there's not 2 minutes worth of traffic, I'll be fine. And of course, this is how you've gotten to the point where when you're about everything's about to hit you. You just know the exact time frame. And I was dead on. As soon as I parked and started walking up the stairs to his apartment, I'm like, oh, buddy.
It's difficult.
We're feeling it.
It's difficult with that weird rice wine because there's a very inconsistent alcohol content, and sometimes it's a lot more than you think, and sometimes it's just right exactly what you think. But sometimes you get hit with some heavier reaction than you were expecting.
Absolutely. And soju, not to be confused with rice wine.
Is it not rice
wine?
It is
made with. It's not rice wine, but it is made with rice. It's a rice liquor.
Okay.
Yeah. Because its alcohol percentage can go as high as 50%. So it is a liquor. And it's distilled and all that good shit. Anyway, that sneaks up on you. And good stuff. It'll sneak up on you because it goes down real smooth. I will say this though. Don't get the apple flavored one. It does. One does taste not good.
I think the last couple I had were mango and pineapple.
Ooh, I'm down to try the mango. But anyway, as that thing is hitting me, right, I'm just walking through the door, and we're getting the whole WrestleMania broadcast feed brought up, and make it just in time to see Drew McIntyre's entrance. So I did miss a little bit of Seth Rollins' entrance, or not miss it. I saw all of Seth Rollins' entrance because he was the champion.
Yeah, he came in second, so you would maybe miss a little bit of Drew's.
Yeah, I missed a little bit of Drew's. As he was walking down the ramp, the swords, and he's walking underneath the cross swords.
Okay, so all you missed was the bagpipes.
I guess so.
Pretty much. But anyways, before we get into the fights, I will mention this might be an unpopular opinion, but I think "God Bless America's" not a good song. I'm all for being patriotic, but I just think that song sucks. And the part that always makes me laugh is when they play it, and people put their hand over their heart like it's the national anthem. I'm like, ooh, that ain't how this works. But the people, I'm trying to remember who actually sang it, because they were cool.
Coco Jones?
Was it that? Maybe I was thinking of who did. No. She did night one. So it was I'll have to look it back up. It's like a soul duo. They were cool, and I liked the version they did, but I'm over that song at this point.
That's fair.
And then we got the introduction or the reintroduction of Stephanie McMahon. Which I had written down. I didn't realize she was still around because I guess she hasn't been for a bit.
She hasn't been around, and the duo, by the way, is called the War and Treaty.
War and Treaty, yeah, thank you. Yeah. I knew it was like a play on some type of words, but I couldn't remember exactly what it was. I kept wanting to call it peace and something, but that wasn't quite it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, the Stephanie McMahon has. Listen, the McMahon family drama is its own. That could be like its own 2-hour, 3-hour podcast.
Yeah, need a 30 for 30 on that one.
Yeah, you need a 30 for 30 on that one. But let's just say that Stephanie McMahon, as well as her brother Shane, they stepped away, right? They stepped away for a while. Stephanie was for the longest time an on-screen character, and behind the scenes, she was an executive of some sort. I forgot her exact title, but she did just kind of disappear. And I don't think anybody was expecting Stephanie McMahon to make an appearance on night 2.
Who was she like on stage involved with? Was it Triple H or Shawn? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Triple H, and they are real life married.
I never know between those whenever it's real or not.
It was kayfabe before it was IRL.
Okay, so it actually worked out. Good job.
Yeah.
So I wrote this down, and now I don't even know what it means. There's some bit where the fans maybe saying, "Are you ready?"
Yeah, because that's Triple H's bit.
Okay, it's been so long since I've seen any of the Attitude Era, and I hated him a lot, so I don't remember a lot of his stuff.
Yeah, so he would whenever he was a babyface, he would say the name of the city. He's like, "Are you ready?"
Yeah.
And so she copied his bit down.
Okay, that's what I said. I was like, where was it? Who was it taken from? Because I don't remember it being her bit, and then I knew that everyone obviously knew it was something to do. So
yeah, no, it was absolutely an homage to her husband.
And then something I wrote before we get into the actual fights. Actually, this is going to be part of the first fight, I think, but I forgot to mention it from night 1. Was I like when they do the weird, like NFL broadcast style, like the CGI graphics in above or in the stadium. I think Judgment Day had one, or not, the 2 that fought from Judgment Day in night 1.
Yeah. The CGI graphics. Yeah, that has been.
I feel like they could do it a little more, because it's weird that they do it like once or twice a night, and then.
You would be in the minority camp on that one. I think a lot of people don't actually like that.
And I mean, I could see how it could go poorly also, but I thought the way that it was done, at least in these couple fights I saw, were fine.
Yeah. With Roman Reigns, I think has the most pronounced one. Especially if you ever see his entrances on like SmackDown, they do that.
Oh, okay.
Basically, a giant golden statue of him doing the. Yeah,
they do that. Who they did it for in this, because I only seem to remember them doing it for one fight.
Yeah, not a lot of them have that, but those who do, you just don't forget who they, like the Judgment Day and then Roman Reigns and a couple others.
All right.
I believe also Cody Rhodes has one with his American Nightmare logo.
Yeah, maybe that's the one they did in night 2. I can't quite remember, but anyways, with that, I'd be happy to get right on into the fights if you're
Yeah,
ready.
let's go. Let's get into it. So I'm gonna lead this off with what my thoughts of this match were, and it was frenetic. It was fast. It did not overstay its welcome by any means. I mean,
We
this
should
match.
say that this is an elimination match: Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins, right?
No, it's a World Heavyweight Championship match.
Thank you. They know. Oh yeah, I wrote that at the end.
Yeah.
One of the announcers said this is an elimination match, and so I just wrote that down. But they might have. Who knows? It might have been Pat McAfee. So
Pat yeah. If it's Pat, yeah, just ignore Pat. But on this one, so yeah, this was for the World Heavyweight Championship match. This thing is kick things off. Listen, if you are going to have a world title match, right? Whether it's your World Heavyweight Championship or your WWE championship, one title needs to open up the show. The other title needs to close the show out. They did a great thing with opening this one, right? And like I said, this one didn't last too long. It was about 10 and a half minutes from what I see that was timed here. And I believe that includes the entrance. I think in time, in-ring match stuff, it was about like 9 minutes of action. And these guys were just hitting their finisher after finisher, big spots after big spots. There was never like a moment wasted in this match. It wasn't some long plotting match. And this is a good idea because in storyline, kayfabe, Seth Rollins just got his ass kicked the night before, right? He's been hurting for months in storyline and kind of in real life. We don't know what the extent of his like real life injuries are. But kayfabe, like his back's hurting, his knees are bad. Like,
I mean, yeah, all things considered, he should have had no business even being in that fight.
Yeah, and so it's a good idea to play off that he's running off adrenaline, and it kind of comes off that way with how he's moving in the ring and all that. But eventually, Drew McIntyre, the opening bell when he hits his first finisher, right? He hits his Claymore. I was stunned. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Are they going to squash Seth Rollins? They didn't. And it's just back to back, like just finishing fast. It looks like a freaking video game. They play it off like a video game, and I really enjoyed that. Eventually, Seth Rollins fails to be able to defend his title. Drew McIntyre, who, if you're familiar, if you've done any research on Drew McIntyre, he won a WrestleMania years ago during the pandemic era. He won in front of nobody, no fans. He won the World Championship in front of no fans.
That was this title they were fighting for tonight, or that night 2?
No, well, sort of. This title has a different lineage than the one that he won on WWE. The one that he won, it's the one that Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns were fighting for, sort of. But just for this championship, right? His whole story has been building up to he never got to have his moment in front of fans. He never got to have that moment where he won the big prize in front of thousands and thousands of people. It's unfortunate, and he was kind of tasked to carry the company for a year and a half as a champion, fighting in front of nobody, absolutely nobody. And you saw the way that they constructed his character into this, how it was really eating him up. Now, there's another thing. There was another thing.
I was gonna say, before we get to the ending, I do want to mention, I thought that the Scottish bit, his intro was awesome. The bagpipes, really fun. And then Rollins' intro, it was, at least to that point, through the 2 nights, through night 1 and this first fight, was my favorite intro yet.
Very whimsical, very on point with the city of Philadelphia for anybody who knows about the Mummers.
And I wrote that if I was really into, as I'm getting more into it, but if I was, out like I was maybe when I was a kid, he would either be my absolute favorite or my absolute most hated, because he carries himself so well.
Absolutely. Seth Rollins plays to both sides of that so well. Whenever he's a face, you're like, man, I fucking love Seth Rollins. When he's a heel, like, You son of a bitch! I hate this guy. He's so obnoxious. There's something about him where he's able to play either or, sometimes both at the same time. But
He's basically Vegeta in my eyes.
Man, I think there
kind
might
of
be
a kind of a just a I'm on my own and I'm gonna pick which side I'm with today.
I guess that's.
But again, this
that's
is
not
me
the
just kind of
worst
looking at
comparison.
it from just this narrow-minded of these last kind of few events, not his whole career.
That's fair. But yeah, no, his entrance was really grand. I think some people who may not be familiar with the mummers thing may have been like, oh, what's with this entrance? But I enjoyed it, but only because I root for this team right here. I'm sort of like understanding what the mummers thing is all about
A
because
little
Jason
Philly
Kelsey
literate.
dressed as one.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little fully literate, not fully.
I knew nothing about it. I just thought he was being extra and I was fine with it.
He absolutely was too, and it was great.
Uh,
And then,
You
but
did mention that it started off well, and that was one of my notes. Is they did the Claymore just immediately, and I thought that was a really smart move to just fire the crowd up just right off the top.
absolutely, and the Philadelphia crowd, the night 2 crowd heard what was said about the night 1 crowd, and they said, "Hold my beer."
It was also 10 degrees warmer.
Yeah, that too. It helps that it was warmer, and it also helps that the first match absolutely was just firing off quickly. Whereas night 1, that was a little bit more methodical, a little bit slower pace, so there could be a little bit of a build up towards the finale. This one was, yo, fuck that, let's go. This is an action movie right here. All right, no slow burn.
We got
But-
the funny bit of McIntyre. Did he go up to his wife to take a selfie and tweet?
No, so he did go up to his wife. Everybody thought he was taking a selfie. What he really did was just tweet out, "LOL, bored at work."
Which I saw that before I ever got to watch it, and I was like, "That's hilarious," because I knew that was going to fit in somewhere when I watched it. So that was a great bit.
And then the great bit was the follow-up tweet, which we'll get to in a second. Because let's go ahead and move into the
I do want to mention
ending
a
of this
couple of other things. Sorry.
Okay, I'll go.
I thought it was awesome that he was yelling at CM Punk, getting distracted, almost losing the fight because he was too busy jawing at CM Punk. I think this was the first time I heard the "This is awesome" chant from the crowd, which is great. I really enjoy hearing that.
Yeah.
I don't even know how those start, but they do when they get loud. I like having someone who's currently a wrestler on the broadcast. Punk was great at that.
Punk is a great commentator.
He filled that role well. And then I did think they might have gone to the clearing off the announcer table bit a little early in the night. I kind of think they overdo that a little bit because it loses some luster for me when it seems like it's just always happening. But
yeah, but
it's part of the staging. It's part of what they do. It's just I got to get used to that.
And then people just love seeing somebody get put through a table. It's like pride for wrestling fans.
But he went up to CM Punk. This is Drew McIntyre, and he does the suck it, which I haven't seen in 20 years. So I really appreciated that. And then I'll let you get to the ending.
So with the ending, so as I was mentioning, with the story of Drew McIntyre, a lot of this has been him wanting to, win the title in front of a large crowd. But there's also a secondary part of his story here at WrestleMania, involving both Seth Rollins and CM Punk. This entire time, the whole build-up, he's been telling Seth that his attention is being divided between himself and the bloodline, and it's going to cost Seth Rollins, right? That obsessive nature of his is going to be his downfall.
I didn't even think about this.
Well, irony's a real bitch. I'll tell you what. Drew McIntyre has his moment. He wins the title. He holds up that big gold belt. The crowd's losing its mind. Everybody's happy for the guy, even though he's a heel. And it's well earned. It's well deserved. I mean, this is years in the making for him. And then what happens? He sees CM Punk. He has a very slutty crawl to CM Punk on the table, kind of mocking him. And then CM Punk has had enough. Now, if you've been on Twitter since then, there was a lady who was screaming at her television, "Just walk away! Just walk away! What are you fucking doing? Just walk away!" Right?
Yeah, I kind of had a feeling. Well, I didn't obviously know the specifics, but I had a feeling that some shit was about to go down.
some shenanigans was about to happen, and I'm watching this, and I'm like, man, they are really dragging this out. It did not occur to me that what was about to happen was going to happen. So when CM Punk takes off his brace, cheap shots Drew McIntyre, and then the Judgment Day's Damian Priest music hits, dude, I was just as shocked as everybody else. It's like, what the fuck? They're gonna catch us in now? I forgot all about this guy. He's been a laugh. He's been like a footnote. He's been mocked incessantly because every time Seth Rollins has been down, every time Seth Rollins has been down, everyone's like, where the fuck's Damian? Where the fuck is Damian? Where the hell is Damian? He's just an idiot. And then here comes Damian Priest running down, drive-by cheap shot with the case of Drew McIntyre, cashes in his Money in the Bank briefcase, hits his finisher, the South of Heaven chokeslam, 1, 2, 3. And I'm like, oh my god, they just took the title off Drew McIntyre.
He had it for about 8 seconds.
he is listed. They listed his title reign at 5 minutes.
Okay.
He was champion for 5 minutes. The match between himself and Damian Priest was 9 seconds long.
Now I do have to ask you this question, or make this inquiry. Can you explain Money in the Bank to people like me who are completely dumb about all this?
Right. So this has been a bit of a gimmick thing that essentially, if you win, so this is what Money in the Bank is. The Money in the Bank briefcase is a contract that whoever is the holder of the briefcase, the official winner of the briefcase, the legal holder of the briefcase, they are entitled to a championship.
Is that like a specific event at a specific night?
Yes, sir. It has its own event. It's its own event now. It used to be a match at WrestleMania, and then it eventually became its own pay-per-view, which is now known as a premium live event. Either way, so what this is, it's a briefcase where the contract permits that the holder can challenge for any world title at any time. So they are entitled to a championship match whenever against a champion of their choosing. All right. So it does not matter if the champion is down and out. As soon as they cash in that briefcase with an official WWE referee, all right, the match is starting, and as long as it's a ring, the match can go. And it's used as a way to get a belt off of somebody, in a way where it doesn't necessarily hurt the champion, right? Because typically the champion has already been through war or is in the middle of a match. Yeah. Or it takes advantage of a champion who is not able to properly defend themselves, right? Whether they've been through a match, they're in the middle of a match, because the championship match has had a cash in on 2 occasions now, both at WrestleMania, weirdly enough. Seth Rollins was actually the first person to ever cash in at WrestleMania, back against Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. And that's all there is. And now the way you get the Money in the Bank contract, it's in a ladder match. So you have about 6 competitors, and they hang it up. And so whoever gets the briefcase, they're the winner. And we've had a couple of briefcase holders. The most recent 2 haven't been very inspiring. Austin Theory and a guy named Otis. And then Damian Priest was a weird selection at the time. A lot of people were really hoping it was LA Knight, because LA Knight was on fire at the time. And Damian Priest and the Judgment Day were just kind of like there. But a lot of people seem to have been really happy that Damian Priest cashed in and won the title.
What happens if you cash it in and don't win? Is it just gone until the next event, the next ladder?
It's just gone. Okay. Yeah, it's just gone. And in kayfabe, you have a full calendar year to cash in your title or your contract.
Right.
And no one has ever waited until the day, like the night before.
Right. That seems like a waste. Maybe if R-Truth ever gets it.
Oh, that'd be funny, because he has competed for it, but like he never got it.
And then my last question about that is, when they call him Senior Money in the Bank, is that specific to Priest, or is that
yes,
okay?
That's specific to him. The Money in the Bank contract holders are either known as Mr. or Miss Money in the Bank.
All right, so Priest wins your world heavyweight title with an
Yep,
assist
and
from
all
CM
because
Punk.
of and all because Drew McIntyre was obsessed with CM Punk. It cost him his title, and the storyline was just beautiful. And this is great because now there's a giant event later on in the year called Clash at the Castle, which is in talks about being held in Scotland, right? So right now, you are essentially waiting for CM Punk to get healthy. You're going to have Drew McIntyre and CM Punk battle there, and hopefully it is for the World Heavyweight Championship, where you could put it on Drew McIntyre there if you want to, and really cash in on a hot crowd. And Damian Priest, listen, happy for the guy. I don't think he is the type of right now where he's been built up to be. I don't think he's going to be a long-term champion, but a nice 2-3 month reign with the belt, it'll do him some wonders. I mean, just until Drew McIntyre and CM Punk are ready to face off with one another.
And I guess before we wrap up that fight, so the CM Punk injury, is that kayfabe
Real.
or is he actually
No,
hurt?
that's
Okay.
actually real. Yeah,
I thought he might be, but then when he rips, because I was like, that's why they have him doing this and not competing. But then he rips the brace off and hits McIntyre. I'm like, oh, maybe it all was fake just for this.
Well, I mean, he did hurt that, I believe, in January. It's April, so I believe at around the 3-month mark, he can at least take the brace off momentarily.
Yeah, I
just
just
to do
wasn't.
that
I
spot.
just can never be sure when the wall is being broken or not.
And
That was
that's when
fun.
wrestling is at its best.
That was a really great first fight. Like you said, they kicked it off right. Night 2 got everyone pumped, and especially doing that Money in the Bank got the crowd really into it.
Oh, yeah. And then, speaking of the crowd, they were in Philadelphia, and this led to our next match, which was officially known as the Pride, although they've never been called that on... I don't think they've ever been called that by commentary, but it was Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits against the Final Testament, which was Karrion Kross and the Authors of Pain, AOP, in a Philadelphia street fight. Now, this was yet another match that did not overstay its welcome.
No, and they also brought in special referee Bubba Ray Dudley.
Bubba Ray Dudley, ECW legend himself. They definitely wanted to, play to the history of Philadelphia and professional wrestling there with ECW. And I mean, there's few better than Bubba Ray Dudley to do that. I mean, there are others that you could get, but like Bubba Ray, he was already in town. He was at the Hall of Fame ceremony. Listen, you get him in there, you have him put on his glasses, say his signature catchphrase, and then let the chaos ensue, which chaos did ensue in this match.
We should mention this is the fight where they bring Snoop out
to do commentary.
Which
he was so funny, man.
Yeah.
Maybe I was just drunk and he was just funnier than usual.
I don't know. He was fine, I guess, but it felt like he's pretty much there to plug stuff and not. I don't know that he. I don't know.
He absolutely was there.
He made one line that I wrote that I thought was funny that we'll get to at some point, but otherwise, I don't know.
Listen,
it would have made more sense to me if they were in LA.
I mean, he was there in LA. There was a moment where I think on Twitter that year, like Snoop saved WrestleMania.
Yeah, outside of getting like Allen Iverson, I don't know who they could actually get that Philly would really be that pumped about.
I mean, Snoop Dogg is a WWE Hall of Famer. He is in their celebrity wing of the Hall of Fame. They have celebrity wings.
He's been around. He's done it a bunch. So, and they sell all his crap. So,
yeah, and he's been a part of multiple WrestleManias at this point. So people love Snoop Dogg. At this point, he's just one of those guys where it's like, yeah, he doesn't really have any ties to Philadelphia, but he does have ties to the WWE itself. And his commentary was very entertaining for spurts in this match. This match, which by the way, I think I've said this on night 1, but there's matches that I didn't feel needed to be a part of the card. This was one of them. But as just kind of serving as a filler for the rest of the night, this did its job. All right. You had some great spots with the AOP and then the Street Profits. You had a weird moment where one of the tables gave out as they were loading Karrion Kross onto it, and they had to go get another table, which is funny in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what happened with that. I don't know if they didn't lock the table properly, like the table legs. But listen, for 8 minutes, this was an absolute car crash. And it didn't overstay its welcome. If this match went even any longer than it did, I think I would have probably soured on it at some point. But you know what? They got rid of this match. They got this match out of the way. They finished this rivalry, this feud, which is very boring, uninspired in my opinion. But they did it fun. They did it in a fun way. They played to the crowd. They pandered to the crowd with a street fight and Bubba Ray Dudley. And it's not bad to like keep the momentum going off of what you had just witnessed in the previous match.
I should ask you because they did get the ladies involved in this, and
Yes.
one of them was
and
named,
that was a 6th spot.
One of them was named Scarlett, and I don't think I wrote down the other one's name.
BFAB.
I think it was tough for me to understand what they were saying, so I just couldn't write it down.
Yeah, her name is BFAB.
But I'm pretty sure that we actually saw her hurt herself in this fight.
Yeah, so
because she started grabbing her back, and then we never saw her again.
So what we saw on that spot, you had Scarlett on the apron. BFAB goes to basically stop Scarlett from interfering in the match with a Russian leg sweep off the apron into a table. And that spot did look like it legitimately hurt because if you saw where they fell, it really just looked like their lower halves went through the table and then their upper halves kind of caught all of the floor. So that looked like it
just
legitimately took the win.
The way that they grab themselves normally in a fight when they're hurt versus her reaction, it was like, oh no. And it might, just be a slight muscle pull or something. It might not be too serious, but that was the only time I think in both nights where I was like, I actually think that person might have really hurt themselves.
So either they did or they're very good at selling.
Yeah.
Which if you're a good seller, it creates conversations like this where like, hey, do you think they really hurt themselves?
Yeah.
And that's the beauty. That's the beauty of that.
Snoop had a great line because they kept calling it like a picnic table or something, and Snoop's like, no, it's the family reunion table. I was like, yeah, that's
great.
Good.
I love that. That was a good one.
And then we got the rumors of Snoop and Dre being in the studio together.
Oh, it's whatever. Listen, that's something that would have been exciting in 1999, not 2024.
It was a moderately entertaining fight for me. I think if I knew more about Bubba Ray, I would have appreciated that fight a little bit more. When he puts on his glasses and everyone starts freaking out, I'm like, okay, I bet this would be a really cool moment if I knew what was happening.
It was definitely a cool moment. He was part of the Attitude Era, although he was probably part of the Attitude era that you missed.
Yeah, I just don't remember him at all.
I believe the Dudleys came in around 1999, and I think you've mentioned 1998 as like the hardcore.
Yeah. I was in and out pretty quick. Might have spent like a year and a half watching. So
yeah, so you probably missed them just barely, but yeah.
But that does fit because it kind of reminded me of like Socko and other kind of silly stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I mean they had
That's fine. I don't mind that. Silly's not a bad thing in this context. Just it's a little silly.
Yeah, no. I mean I don't think this match was ever meant to be super serious anyway. Now, the next match that we're getting into, I think feeds off perfectly off of this one in that like, all right, you had a car wreck of a match, lots of bodies, big stipulation. This next match though,
was cars. In the LA Knight versus AJ Styles, third fight of the night. My first note before it starts is LA Knight, Slim Jim Carr, ads.
Yeah, that one, the ads get a little bit too much on this, but I get it. It's a big. I mean, yeah,
they're selling stuff and they have to. But the problem for me is when you do that and then that guy immediately comes out and I'm like, well, they're not going to let him lose after doing all that promotion because Slim Jim doesn't want the guy driving their car to lose.
Probably not.
Because he actually drove like a Slim Jim car out to the ring.
Yeah. That one, I don't know. The entrances are the most forgettable part about this entire match. But what really got to me was like, okay, this entire match was built up to kind of be like a blood feud between these two guys, which, listen, if you are to make me believe that these gentlemen truly hate each other, which they have done some building off screen where they were at a convention of like convention center style thing during WrestleMania weekend, or prior to WrestleMania. AJ Styles gets a bloody nose. Like they're really building on the kayfabe on this one to make it seem like these guys really truly despise each other. And the best thing that you could do to start this match off is immediately, as soon as one of them gets, like, the one's already in the ring, the one's coming into the ring, fuck it, one of them just leaves and they just start beating the shit out of each other, which is exactly what happens here. LA Knight, AJ Styles immediately just start punching the shit out of each other. And that's how you should start any feud off, right? If like you were to tell me they hate each other, don't start off with like a headlock or like a test of strength, or they grab each other's hands and see who's stronger.
Yeah,
no chin locks, nothing.
Immediate, or have them do the circling each other bit, which is okay sometimes too.
It's okay to some extent.
It probably depends on the characters themselves and what their ego and tempers are, but
yeah, and these egos were ready to clash on site. This was the definition of on site, and this match, it was a pretty good match. Not anything spectacular by any means, but this is one of AJ Styles, who is going to go down as a legendary wrestler in the independent scene, for everything that he's done outside of WWE and some of the things that he's done in WWE. It's unfortunate he hasn't had great WrestleMania matches outside of like a handful, and this is one of his better ones. LA Knight was proving anybody who doubted his ability to wrestle. A lot of people were like, hey, he's a great character. I don't know about him wrestling. He's kind of boring, is what I've seen a lot of. Not my personal opinion. I think he's just an old school wrestler. These guys clashed just like their styles, no pun intended, clashed really well.
Yeah, that's a big part, is who you're putting someone up against really matters, which we discussed in night one. The Uso thing didn't work because it was like a Marvel final boss fight where it's just same power versus same power.
Also, they just had no chemistry. Like those, despite them being brothers, like damn. Maybe we shouldn't place two guys who have the exact same move sets against each other. It's like
every single Iron Man movie.
Yeah, it's like, okay. It's like the Spider-Man meme, right? Where like they're all pointing 100%. At each other. That's what the Usos match was, because it's like, all right, they both just hit each other. They both punch, kick, super kick. Samoan, I believe it's called the Samoans. Oh God, I forgot. Samoan drop. That's the name of the move. And splash, like where they like fall off the top rope and just land on you. Like that's all the Usos do. And that was a match that needed a street fight. This one, however, didn't need a street fight. These guys absolutely just killed it in the ring, in my opinion. If you like old school graps, old school wrestling, that's what this was. And the result works. LA Knight beats AJ Styles. The reason this works is because this coming Friday, they have a rematch against each other, with the winner getting to face Cody Rhodes for his new championship. And if you're going to have the babyface go over in WrestleMania, you got to have the heel, right? You got to have the heel go over on the babyface on the next occasion, so you can have a rubber match later down the road. And you need, when you crown a new champion, you absolutely need your new champion, if he's a face, he or she's a face, to have a heel up against on that first title defense. And AJ Styles, very credible, very good in the ring. And for those who may not know, AJ Styles defeated way back when, 20 years ago, Dusty Rhodes, Cody Rhodes' father, in a match. Yeah, so there's a little storyline that could be had there. But as far as this story, we'll see this feud probably finish off either this upcoming Friday or in a later event after Backlash, which, I'm all happy for. This has been a semi-entertaining feud. I like it. But you can clearly tell that it's ready to let's move off of these guys and see where other storylines we can go into. There was no big thrills or anything in like frills and grand anything happening in this match, but it was good. It was good.
My only note that I really had for it was that I've never seen the actual padding ripped off the ground before.
Oh, yeah.
Outside, and that was just interesting because I hadn't seen that before. But yeah, I didn't. This might be the least notes I wrote for any fight. So
Yeah, it was just a straight wrestling match, and I appreciated that because you did have a couple of gimmicks earlier in the night with the Money in the Bank briefcase being cashed in.
They can't all
the
be
strip
just.
fight.
They can't all be so teed up that you're just tired by the end. So
Yeah, and then especially with the next match after that, where it was
speaking
a
of
triple threat.
ads. I guess this was the advertising hour of the show.
Yeah, with the Prime bottle.
Which again,
let's go.
I'll go back to. Sponsors don't want their guys to lose.
Well, not just that, but I don't think it was the right call to make sure Logan Paul was.
I mean, I'm fine with him winning because he's so fucking annoying that it's great for the great for the product.
Yeah, and I don't think Logan Paul actually has any issues with dropping the belt at all. He seems
No, it's just during WrestleMania when they're pushing the Prime stuff, he was not going to lose.
Yeah, he wasn't going to lose by any means. Mostly because you look at Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, and they don't need the United States Championship. They've already. Well, I don't think Randy Orton's held that belt by any means, but
they are both kind of been there, done that type guys.
Absolutely, and you definitely want the next United States champion to be somebody who can defend it more regularly than Logan Paul is able to, because Logan Paul is a part-time wrestler, really good part-time wrestler and entertaining and at that, and that's what he was in this entire match. Absolutely entertaining from start to finish, especially with his entrance, just being like that swarmy asshole that, like, dude, you just want to see his shit rocked.
I wrote that he's gonna be the best heel for the YouTube generation because
I mean, here's the thing.
Everyone wants to hit him. It's great.
Here's the thing. The more quality matches he has, and the more it's just obvious to everybody in the world that he's just kind of natural at this, eventually people are going to start cheering for him, and he's going to have no choice but to be a babyface, and that's going to be a very weird transition for him to be a guy that gets cheered. Because
I think he'll be fine, honestly. I think they can ask him to do whatever, and he's going to be good at it. As annoying as it may be, he's just good.
Now, the thing is, with the idea of him being a face, it's like you don't want him to change his personality, right? Essentially, what you want.
He's just a younger Seth Rollins, right? Like,
no,
they both give me the same vibe, at least.
No, it's a lot different. And a lot of that just has to do too with like the amount that they're available, right?
I just mean in terms of like whether they're going to be a face or a heel. I still want to punch them in the face, and they look cocky basically all the time. Although sometimes, like we saw at SmackDown, Logan can get a little bit scared and run away from things. So
yes, and you want him to be a cowardly heel. And on that point with Seth Rollins earlier, if we could just backtrack a little bit, mentioning his facials and of terms of like wanting to punch him in the face. There is moments where he is very sympathetic. Whenever he lost the match, and I forgot to mention this. Whenever he lost the match, he looked back at Drew, very emotional, and you saw him mouth out, "You deserve this," right? Which I thought was a nice touch on Seth Rollins' character, which lends him to, like, hey, this guy is really playing the babyface thing just right. But anyway, back to this. Back to
the triple threat U.S. Championship.
Yeah, this triple threat match for the United States Championship. Logan Paul comes out, does his typical spiel, whatever. Kevin Owens comes out very similar to the way Sami Zayn came out, right?
Yeah, I wrote that. It was a good recall from the night before.
Yep, because they're best friends in real life and on screen. Even though it's on screen, it's very much like, yeah, we're best friends, but we betray each other every year type of deal. But anyway, you go into this match. He comes out in the golf cart.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was hilarious.
It was.
And then as he comes down to the ramp, Randy Orton's music hits, and these two are just like, "Hey, we're buds. We like each other." He just reverses that bitch, back it up, and takes Randy Orton to the ring.
Randy Orton looked so confused. Like, obviously, whatever, but he looked confused by it. And what's his name? Sorry, Owens. He's just like, "No, get in. Come on in."
Like, come on. And they played to the whole thing that, like, listen, we're more here to beat up Logan Paul than we are trying to win the title perfectly, because at the beginning, Logan Paul gets out of the ring, and Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, there's like this expectation from Logan Paul, like, you guys fight each other first.
He just said, he like looked at them and goes, y'all fight.
And they said, no. You get your ass back in here. They started beating him up, taking turns. And then eventually it gets to the point where in all triple threats, it does.
Someone's got to win.
Someone's got to win. And then you see Kevin Owens and Randy Orton go for the pin. They're like, they're like, my bad. I don't know what to do here. And then Randy Orton goes for his RKO. Kevin Owens is like, really? And then Randy Orton has like grins like, well, I mean, what else are we supposed to do? And they're like, yeah, you're right. And then they just started punching each other, and it was great. This match was fun. It was just the right amount of time. I believe this was like the second longest match of the night, and it was a lot. It was a lot. There's a lot going on, but it was in this triple threat environment where anything goes. There's no disqualifications in these matches. It just was so good. You have two longtime professionals in Kevin Owens and Randy Orton with a natural in Logan Paul. Their chemistry was off the charts. And then the thing that does bother me a little bit about Logan Paul WrestleMania matches is that it does involve a streamer. And I don't know most of these streamers. I knew who KSI was from the WrestleMania previous. I did not know who the hell iShowSpeed was. So when when Randy Orton eventually gets interrupted by the Prime bottle and it reveals to be iShowSpeed, I'm like, who the hell is this kid?
I just assumed, because I'm a jerk, that it was the same guy we saw at SmackDown, but you're telling me it's not the same guy I saw at SmackDown?
That was
with
KSI.
Logan? Okay.
And this guy was iShowSpeed. And
it makes sense because this guy was tiny. You could even in his, he's wearing tights, but he's got no muscles whatsoever.
Nothing. And he's real young. He's like still a teenager, I believe.
Props to the WWE for reaching out to that market because they know what's coming. They see the writing on the wall what the future is. So
yeah,
get these guys in now.
And the kid, I believe, is known for barking.
Okay, that makes sense.
Which is why he was barking at Randy Orton, and Andy Orton
I just wrote
barked
weird,
at him.
I wrote weird bark shit.
Yes. And my friends who I was watching with, they knew who iShowSpeed was, and they were dying when the barking started. They know about that bit more than I do. And then when Randy Orton barked at him and then RKO'd him into the table, I was like, ooh, that kid sold that. That's good on him. I
wrote he might be dead.
He might be dead. I thought, though, the kick to the chest was brutal. That was so funny, too. Just watching Randy Orton Spartan kick the shit out of a child. And I'm like, listen, I know that suit has some padding to it, but Randy Orton's a big man, all right? I think they said, on the broadcast, whenever they announced his weight, he was in the 270s. He looks like he's in the 260s, really. But just because he's a big dude. He's 6'4", 260. He looks every bit the height and weight he's announced. I'm like, he did not let up on that kid with that kick. He's like, fuck it. He might be protected. I'm not. And then just Spartan kicked him. So shout out to iShowSpeed for taking that kick and that RKO like a champ.
I should say there's I guess Logan uses brass knuckles sometimes, and he brought those out. I thought it was really funny when Randy Orton got him, put him on, and then just handed them to the referee instead and was like, I don't need these.
It's like he is his own weapon. And they were teasing to Randy Orton's old
the announcer said, Randy Orton is a weapon.
Yep, and then that's when he was going to set up for the Randy Orton punt. This is something from years ago.
Okay.
Right, where it was really sold as a devastating kick where, he just kicks somebody right in the fucking head, which in real life would probably knock somebody out, especially a guy that big. And, they went for that. He didn't land it, obviously. I lost my train of thought. Anyway, but we get to the end of the match where Kevin Owens takes the pin. Makes sense. He takes the pin. It kind of ends the feud between Logan Paul and Kevin Owens, but you do keep the possibility of Logan Paul against Randy Orton alive down in the future.
Yeah.
All right, and that will be interesting to see how they handle that, because I think a lot of people may not love the idea of Logan Paul beating Randy Orton, but
I
when
liked
you have a cowardly heel like Logan Paul who cheats to win, it protects a guy like Randy Orton. So
I
that
liked
doesn't bother
when
me either way.
after the match he looks at Randy and goes, "I like you though." Like that felt genuine, and I enjoyed that moment.
Oh, and I could tell as the longer that Logan Paul has been involved with WWE, the more I believe he's becoming like a genuine fan. Because he talked about having watched it as a kid, um, but clearly not like a diehard fan of the product.
And yeah, I assume until
Uh,
you do it, you just have no idea what these guys are really putting into it.
yeah, and I do respect the fact that he goes on to say, like, he's gone on to say on multiple occasions, both on his show and on I believe Pat McAfee's show. He's like, this is the hardest thing he's ever had to do in his entire life. He's like, this was harder than boxing Floyd Mayweather, and he goes into the details of why, and it's because you have when it comes to boxing, I believe, and I'm paraphrasing here, he's like, you're just worried about your opponent. You're not really worried about the crowd. You're not really worried about anything else. In wrestling, you worried about the crowd. You're worried about your opponent, your timing, what the refs doing, uh, your entire environment, not getting hurt. There's so many more factors that go into it, and just hearing him talk about it, and just it's like, all right, cool, you get it, you get it. I like that you get it. I hate that I'm becoming a fan because
Yeah,
I
I
don't
know.
want
I
I don't
know.
want I don't want to like you. But if somebody
But if
was
there
like,
was
man,
yeah, I was gonna say if there was a venue for him for me to like him, like this is it. This is like perfect for what he does.
yeah, it's like in this little vacuum, sure. Like I had a coworker the other day. They were like Logan. They were talking about wrestling, and they didn't even involve me in the conversation. So I was like, ooh, I'm gonna listen in. And they mentioned Logan Paul, and they're like, Logan Paul, that dude sucks. And then I'm like, you shut your mouth about the United States champion. He's great.
And then you're like, oh damn it.
Now I did say that jokingly, but there's a little honesty there.
There's it's the kayfabe, man. What are you gonna do?
That's right. But yeah, this match was great. The winner was definitely the right choice. And I have no gripes about anything that happened here. So, do you
We
have any
can.
notes on this?
I think we covered pretty much everything there. Then we can move on. We got the penultimate fight of the
The
night,
penultimate match, and I'm gonna go ahead and say this. This was my second favorite match of the night.
which is our
Honestly, this
WWE
might
Women's Undisputed Championship.
okay. There is no undisputed in the title for this.
So they say that though on the broadcast.
I know, but it's not. It's not. And
They're not
like,
doing me any favors.
they're not doing you any favors. It's officially listed as the WWE Women's Championship, and then the other one is the WWE World's Women, or no, the other one is known as the World's Women's Championship.
Okay.
It's they don't do themselves any favor. They really shouldn't have two championships, but that's besides the point. This I think enough time has passed by for me to say that this was my second favorite match of all of WrestleMania. And the reason being is because it was set up perfectly, the weird Bailey entrance notwithstanding. Because her entrance was absolutely just
I'm trying to
weird.
remember because my only note was that Io Sky's intro was way cooler than Bailey's, so I must not have been impressed by whatever Bailey did at all.
Io's okay.
Sorry, Io Sky.
We'll talk about Io's entrance because I want to gush about that entrance a little bit, because that's doing not a lot, but making it seem like it's so much more, right? But with Bailey's entrance, she comes in, new music. It's like Egyptian style, which is really weird because she's not Egyptian. There's never been any hint of her character having any connection with like that kind of culture.
I don't even
So
remember
she comes
this.
out. I got to look back at it, but it's like an Egyptian style, like kind of a soundtrack going on. She's carried out by a bunch of dudes, and then she walks out to the ring with new music, new gear, and I'm just like, man, I'm not feeling this entrance whatsoever. This music kind of sucks. Def Rebel sucks. Def Rebel is the music producer for WWE, or the person in charge of creating themes for WWE artists.
Yeah, I've got no memory of this. This is weird. Okay.
Yeah, you'll just have to It was just so bland and boring and forgettable. But I won't forget because it's so bad that I couldn't forget it. And then Io Sky comes out. Io Sky's entrance was so good, from the graphics to the flashing lights, the music. That's one of the few Def Rebel original themes that I enjoy. And the way she was just presented as she's walking down with her ring gear, just like this larger than life champion, like there's so much charisma oozing off of her. And I like the fact that Damage Control was not even ringside. I really respect that. It was just champion versus challenger, no interference, right? Because she doesn't, like, the whole thing is like she doesn't need she does not need help to win. I think was kind of the theme of this match. And I believe the theme of a bunch of matches, once we see that there wasn't a lot of interference uh, outside of anything bloodline related. Um, and I think that's definitely on purpose because you don't want to double dip.
You don't want to overdo it, yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to overdo it, especially when it's your penultimate match. But yeah, the way that Io Sky comes into the ring, great. I was hyped for it. It did everything it needed to do. And now this match was 14 minutes long, and one of Bayley's strengths as a wrestler is to play a sympathetic babyface. And the thing with a sympathetic babyface is the longer the match goes, the more punishment that takes, the more if you're truly good at what you do, which she is great at what she does when she's a sympathetic babyface, it draws the crowd in more and more because you want to see her or any babyface that you connect with overcome all this punishment they've taken to win, right?
Hey, give me just a minute. Someone ring my doorbell.
Oh, you're good. Yeah, back to what I was saying about Bayley and the babyface. So the babyface in peril, the one that really does a good job of drawing the crowd in. The whole match, she's selling her leg, right? She looks like she's genuinely like nursing her leg throughout the entire match. And Io Sky's taking advantage of it. She is relentless in her offense, and she is dazzling in her counters. She has one that really popped the crowd real hard. Bayley goes for one of her signature moves called the Rose Plant, which I think is not a good finisher, but that's because I grew up on old school Bayley, which her move was known as the Bayley to belly suplex. And that move would have been great finish to this match, but that's besides the point. She goes for the counter. She goes for the Rose Plant the first time. Io Sky beautifully counters it into I believe a front flip or a handstand of some sort. And the crowd is just popping. And this is like towards the end of the match, right? They've been building and building towards this match. It's a slow burn, but it's a good slow burn. This is for me a little more entertaining than the slow burn of the previous women's match from the night before, Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch. But that's because I think styles make fights, and Io Sky having a more I guess flight-based offense where she hits a bunch of moonsaults, which I thought she's so good at those, especially when she goes for the 3 moonsaults. First one standing, the next one off the second turnbuckle, and then finally she goes for her her finisher, which is off the very last turnbuckle. Great sequence there. And then Bayley is just kind of a fighter. She's not really known as a technician. She's not really known as a powerhouse. She's
really?
very.
I would think powerhouse would be where she's at. She's so much. She feels like so much bigger than most of the girls out there, but
not really. Because she's not like. Because you look at, if you were to pair her with like a Charlotte Flair, Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, those girls, you could tell that they are meant to be like power-based wrestlers, more athletic wrestlers. To me, Bayley fits the more Sami Zayn mold, right? You look at Sami Zayn and you're like, well, he doesn't wrestle like you're like a pure technician. He's not a submission-based wrestler. He's just a guy who wrestles. He fights, right? And Bayley, to me, is kind of the female equivalent of Sami Zayn. And it really played off in this one, too, because she had her own triumphant moment where she overcomes the arrogant heel who thinks that they have her where they want her. Bayley instead takes advantage of Io Sky's like high risk offense, locks in Rose Plant, gets the 1, 2, 3. The crowd was hot towards the second half of this match because they all like. I think this match was just so well done, and then Bayley winning was the correct choice. She has a giant moment in front of thousands of people, holds up the title belt. I personally loved Io Sky as a champion, but that's because I'm a little bit more familiar with her past work prior to WWE, and I thought she's a great wrestler. Her reign was surprisingly long. It went over 200 days. I forgot that she's been champion for so long. I can't wait for Io Sky to kind of be away from Damage Control and get be back in the title picture scene. We'll see whenever that happens. But as far as this match was concerned, this was one of my favorite matches of both nights. Just as a pure wrestling match, just a pure wrestling match. I think these women absolutely killed it. Best non-bloodline match of WrestleMania. That wasn't probably Sami Zayn and Gunther. And yeah, I don't know what you if
I thought
you
it
had
was
any
fine.
notes.
I don't know. And you know, without maybe some of the context, these characters don't mean a lot to me. And maybe I was also just ready to get to the main event. There might have been a little bit of that in there. Also, we were dealing with McAfee making dumb other sport references throughout this one.
Oh yeah, I was tuning out that broadcast.
I didn't have anything against the fight. It didn't especially jump out to me as anything significantly better or worse than anything I had seen the rest of the night. It was fine to me.
All right. Well, the more you get indoctrinated into this, the more you'll come to realize you watched a great women's match.
Yeah, and I mean, I said after night one, and I'm still like, I really enjoyed watching Io Sky because watching someone fly around the ring like that's really fun. Maybe I think they went to the knee stuff a little early for Bayley for how long the fight was, but
yeah, that's the
be
thing.
Picking nits, so
it's the babyface apparel. You definitely want to have that. If you're going to introduce an injury early in the match, right? Then you want your babyface to sell that as much as you can because it creates doubt as to who might win. You know.
But sometimes for me, I feel like when they do that so early, then it's almost phoning to me that she's actually going to win.
And that's why it's up to the wrestlers themselves to create those scenarios in the match where you're like, oh, they fucked up, and even though this person's hurt, they take advantage of the other person's mistakes.
I do have a note here, and I wish I remembered what happened here. I just wrote Bayley stuck on the top buckle. I think she was trying to climb up and like got stuck on it or something. But I don't remember.
I would have to go back and rewatch that spot. I have on that. But I do remember her going up to the turnbuckle and essentially being stopped.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. And then after the fight, after Bayley wins, we get the Eagles cheerleaders and Snoop Dogg in the ring. I think that's where he announced the fake attendance number.
Yeah, that's such an unnecessary thing. Like, I get they are essentially buying time. They're like, trying to bring the crowd back down a little bit. Reset everything, because the main event is about to be a grand experience like no other.
This is Past the Rest.
Now it's time for us to get to the main event.
Oh, man, and what a main event it was. It was everything I think people who were invested in this storyline wanted it to be, and then some. All right? From the grand entrance of Cody Rhodes coming out with essentially his logo made into an actual mask, right? Cool. Coming out with his wife, getting the big "whoa" from the crowd, to Roman Reigns being walking out to a local, I don't know if it was a high school orchestra or whatnot, but he's basically like getting walked out to a live orchestra of his theme song. It feels like this grand entrance, and it almost feels like we're ready to say goodbye to one of WWE's longest title reigns in modern history, and in the history of the entire company. and it just felt like this proper send off, right?
I did write about Rhodes' intro. I said, "What is this Witch King mask?" That's
It's
a Lord
just
of the Rings reference.
Oh man, I have not seen anything past the first Lord of the Rings.
Ooh,
So
interesting.
yeah, it never really caught my attention like that.
That's fine. Yeah.
Although back whenever like my parents and I would shop at Sam's Club, they would show parts of the movie.
I mean, the third one won Best Picture probably just because the whole trilogy was great, and they had to give him something eventually. Well, not I don't know if it won, but it was nominated. I don't remember anymore. But back to this, I did think, and this might just be a mixing issue with the broadcast, that I don't like that the explosions drown out the music as much for the pyro stuff, because I just enjoy his intro music. So
on who? Cody Rhodes or
this is
Roman Reigns?
I'm on Cody Rhodes still here. And then I was wondering how they decided who he gives his belt to. The belt that he hands is it the
his weight belt.
Yeah,
His weight belt. I
because
think
there's just some random kid sitting there waiting for him.
Yeah, I think that's just been his thing, is that he gives his weight belts to like kids in the audience.
And then I liked that he could tell that the crowd seemed to maybe be tired or maybe just conserving energy, and he starts pumping them up himself. And I was like, yeah, dude, he knows what this is, and he's getting them ready for it.
Yeah, and I think even the crowd, like part of the crowd was great all night. So
It's a long time though. I mean, you're gonna need some reminders to get up.
This was an hour shorter than the previous night. I believe like a full hour shorter than the previous night.
Still a long night though. I mean, if you're there getting rowdy and you're at the end of the night, you probably need some extra juice, and he made sure to bring it before the fight started.
And yeah, man, the whole intro, I think, as once the guys got into the ring, I think the crowd realized,
yes, absolutely.
This is the beginning of the end of this storyline. I think everybody kind of in their minds felt like that Cody Rhodes was going to win this. There might have been a section of fans that like they could talk themselves into this reign of Romans, no pun intended, continuing on past this, right? And they're like, oh well, yeah, but no shot. There was just no shot. This was truly Avengers Endgame. This was truly Avengers Endgame. The match starts out pretty standard, right?
Can I ask you real quick before we get to the fighting? Do you know what the letters on Cody Rhodes' boots are? He's got a bunch of like letters that, they're like stitched into his boots, and they seemed random, but I'm assuming they had meaning and purpose.
I would need to look at it because I never really pay attention to his boots.
I was like, I was hyper taking notes, so I probably could have looked this up myself, but I wanted to ask you if you knew what it all was.
Yeah, I can't even find
on one side it's DDDMK, on the other side it's ODDGG.
DD.
So it might be DODDDMGKG. It might be initials. I don't know. Okay.
Like maybe like it's his family.
That could make sense.
Because like his brother's name is Dustin, his dad's name is Dusty, his mom's name is
Cody Rhodes'
Maria.
sister reveals hidden meaning on his boots.
Oh, what does it say?
It's his grandkid, the Dream's grandkid's initials. So yeah, okay. So it's just his family's stuff. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, there you go. But yeah, the match itself, it was, dude, they were wrestling a really fine match. This is everything before it gets out of hand, right? This match was wrestled under Bloodline rules, which they never really said what Bloodline rules meant. But
I just thought it meant anything goes.
Yeah, and that's really what it was.
Which it surprised me that it came out alone. It kind of surprised me Roman Reigns came out alone and not with anyone else in the Bloodline. But obviously they're, it's his moment also, so they want him to be the guy for his intro. So that's fine.
And they want to make it where you'd never know when someone's going to come out, right?
We all knew The Rock was going to show up eventually.
Yeah, and other members of the Bloodline as well. I mean, last year he had Solo Sikoa walk out with him. Solo Sikoa eventually gets thrown out of that match at WrestleMania 39, but he reappears again
Yeah.
towards the end of the match after some interference from the Usos. But back to this one, right? Before there's ever any interference, there's a build up to the first call or the first interference, which is from Jimmy, right? So the entire build up is essentially a callback to the previous WrestleMania where Cody Rhodes is kind of looking up, kind of like looking over his shoulder as he's hitting his multiple crossroads. There's some great spots before that though that I want to talk about. One, it's Roman Reigns' trash talking.
Mhm.
So he steals Cody Reigns' crossroads, goes for the pin. Cody Rhodes kicks out, and you could hear on the mic, it's captured on the floor mics. Roman's like, "Man,
I got
this
the
move
quote.
sucks.
That move
Yeah, this
don't
move-
beat nobody,
This
but I
move
want to
sucks."
shove it in his face.
No, he said it sucks too.
Okay, I must have missed that part.
And it's like, this move don't beat nobody. This move
Which,
sucks.
to be fair, it is. I don't know. I think it's kind of I didn't realize that was his finishing move.
The crossroads?
Yeah, because it just feels like
oh.
a regular, like a signature move, but like an in-fight signature move, not necessarily a finisher.
No, I mean, here's the problem with modern day finishers is that nothing really feels like a finishing maneuver anymore, and that's because, and this is kind of like the influence of independent wrestling. It's that a lot of people just kick out of finishers nowadays, right? There's very few what's known as protected finishers, and by that I mean like once this move is hit on you, you are not kicking out, and whenever you do kick out, it is meant to be like a grand special occasion, and not to like kind of like take us off the main topic, but there are the few finishers in WWE that are protected. I believe Baron Corbin, who's in NXT, his end of days finisher is, I think, like one of the most protected finishers in WWE, which is really weird considering his career path. And then in all of wrestling, in AEW, there's a guy by Kenny Omega.
Heard of him.
Only two people have kicked out of his finisher, known as the One Wing Angel. A guy by the name of Kota Ibushi, and Kenny Omega himself when he got put into a One Winged Angel.
I do like when other people use their opponent's moves against them, whether it works or not. You know, it's always good to see. I do want to bring up a couple of things before we even got to that moment about the crossroads. There was a hilarious moment. It's like 4 minutes in, and Cody Rhodes has a Roman in like a submission hold, and they're like, "Will Roman tap?" And I'm like, "Come on." I mean, I know, but also like you got to know everyone watching knows that no, he's not going to tap 4 minutes into the main event. That would be the craziest thing ever.
Yeah, but again, it's all part of that suspension of disbelief. You just gotta.
And then
you gotta let go and roll with the flow.
We got Roman yelling, "This is my company, you little bitch." And he says, "This feels like a $3 million bonus." And then you had Paul Heyman saying, "He must love the pain of the tribal chief."
Those guys are great. Anytime you hear any of the trash talking from Roman Reigns, he has some great one-liners.
Yeah, I really, I've heard obviously a lot of talk going in that people didn't like him for a long time, but I think he's incredible. And maybe they don't, not that they don't like him, but they don't like the way that the company's used him.
Yeah, the way he was presented, how he was presented, how essentially just manufactured his entire push was. It was never organic, it was forced. And I believe on his documentary, he goes on and talks about how he didn't want to be a babyface initially. He didn't want to be away from the Shield so quickly. And he was forced to say a lot of lines that made him look stupid and made him look corny. And the fact that like he once essentially Vince McMahon kind of gave him some more freedom and control, and then once Vince stepped away and it was kind of Triple H's deal, he just became so cool. He just became what he was always meant to be, which is this cool badass, not necessarily like a babyface. He will eventually be a babyface again, especially after the reception to the post WrestleMania thing. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Back to this match, though, we get good back and forth between the two guys. They exchange stolen finishers. Cody Rhodes hits him with a spear.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Roman Reigns kicks out. And then we get Cody Rhodes. He gets him into a position later on to hit Crossroads. So he hits 2 Crossroads. And as a callback to last year, WrestleMania 39, Rhodes was hitting him with 2 Crossroads. He's going to go for a third one. Solo Sikoa was the one at WrestleMania 39 to pop out of nowhere, hit him with a Samoan spike, interfere with the match, cost Cody's his championship opportunity. In this one, it's Jimmy Uso, hits him with a super kick. And as soon as we get Jimmy Uso, that is the start. That is the first domino in this crazy, what turned out to be like about 5.5 to 6 minute stretch of lunacy, where you have Jimmy Uso, he's interfering, and then as soon as Jimmy Uso interferes, out comes his brother Jay. You hear the music play, and Jimmy immediately goes up to the ramp, and this small, brief fight between Jimmy and Jay was so much better than their first match.
Yeah,
it is so funny.
They definitely seem to work better as secondary characters, at least in this context.
It was just like, oh man, he just speared him off the stage through some tables. That's what their match needed last night. Was this, and not like a regular wrestling match where these guys had no chemistry. It was this, like they needed a brawl, and that's what they did. They immediately take each other out, or Jay essentially takes out Jimmy and himself out of the equation. Now,
and then
what's left?
Before you get to the next one, there's a little moment here that I really liked where Roman starts complaining to the ref about a slow count. I like that bit a lot.
That's a good bit. That's some good character work on there. It's the subtleties, right?
Which I don't know if that is that like a, I don't know who that ref was or anything, but I did.
That ref is a longtime WWE ref.
I wrote that he looks like a Walton Goggins character. I don't know if you're familiar with him at all. He was in like Vice Principals and The Shield and Justified and all these other shows. He's a great actor. He's in the new Fallout show. But the ref definitely looked like him, a character he would have, especially with that hair.
Yeah. That's Charles Robinson. He's a longtime WWE guy, WWE ref, and he is lovingly, what is the word? Endearingly known as Little Nate, because he resembled a young Ric Flair when he was a younger referee in WCW. But yeah, he was the right guy for this match. He's one of the more experienced referees. But besides that, we go back to.
So we just had the Usos. The Usos did their deal, and then who came next?
It was Solo. Solo comes out, and there is a little bit of, and we need to pay attention to this going forward. Solo, obviously taking his shots on Cody Rhodes, but he's also barking orders at Roman Reigns.
Yeah, he's saying, finish him, and Reigns says, I know, and he's like, finish his story.
Yeah, and we will learn that later on, this was a small seed being planted for Solo's own character arc going after WrestleMania. But in this one, what happens? Cody Rhodes is getting beat down by Solo, and who comes to save the day but John Cena? Oh my God, when his music hit, it felt like an adrenaline rush, like a hit of like just 1980s pure cocaine to the bloodstream, baby. I heard those trumpets, and you see him run down that really steep ramp, comes out.
Run. Putting run in quotes. He's an old man. He's doing his best.
Man. He's doing his best.
It's his second night in a row.
He's wrestled so many nights. I mean, he's wrestled so much in his career.
He does need to just go ahead and shave the head, though, because the bald spot doesn't work.
No, the long hair doesn't work. It's a terrible look. I get that he probably needs it for like the characters he's playing in Hollywood, but listen.
No, he's great, and I was really glad he got to be a part of this.
Yes, and it's a callback to John Cena. In storyline, he got taken out by Solo Sikoa. Right, Solo Sikoa took him out, absolutely thrashed John Cena when they wrestled each other. So in this case, John Cena takes out Solo, puts him through a table, and then comes in and hits Roman Reigns with his attitude adjustment. And just when you think, all right, baby faces are up, John Cena is here to save the day. It's a callback to Once in a Lifetime WrestleMania 27 and 28. The Rock.
What The Rock is
I will
The
say,
Rock
before you get
music-
into what he did, I was a little upset that I couldn't make out the trash talk he was doing. Because you could see he's just spitting The Rock. He's just spitting mad bars at people, and I couldn't hear what he was saying. I was a little upset about that.
Oh man, I'm sure it was a lot of profanity that probably they were going to try to cut out. But The Rock comes out, absolutely just cussing up a storm on his way to the ring, and then him and John Cena, as a callback to their first time ever meeting in the ring as in-ring competitors, look at the crowd, take in the moment, and then The Rock takes out John Cena. And he took him out rather quickly. I was a little
get the fuck out of the ring right now.
yeah, and I was a little disappointed with how that worked, how that played out. I was hoping for a little bit longer exchange between the two, just a little bit, right?
Cena's
But
tired, man.
Yeah, and who knows what they were talking about? Like, you don't want to take away from what's ultimately Roman and Cody's match. This is, of course, the end game part, the Marvel end game. Everybody's coming to save the day for the respective side. And then, who comes out next? You hear Sierra, Hotel, Indigo, Echo, Lima, Delta, Shield. You hear the Shield music, right? And for a lot of people who are familiar with the Shield, online there were so many people who thought Dean Ambrose, now known as John Moxley, was going to come out, but he's contracted to AEW. It was never going to happen. But there was that little tiny belief because, I mean, if it's Seth,
Anything
why won't
goes.
Seth come?
Bloodline rules.
Yeah, if it's Seth Rollins, why wouldn't it be Seth Rollins' music? Well, here's why. Because, and it all ties in to the story that's being told between the Bloodline, Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins. So Seth Rollins comes out, immediately gets taken out as he comes out by Roman Reigns. Like, just he comes out in his Shield gear because they used to wear tactical gear to the ring when they were in that group together.
And
takes him out immediately.
He tries to get The Rock with a chair, and that's in the process of that, Roman comes and just takes him out.
Weirdly enough, takes him out, and then they both leave the ring to save room.
Well, because we needed The Rock to continue to yell at the elderly, which is still a weird bit.
and at Cody Rhodes, right? And here's the surprise of the night. Not a single person had this shit on their bingo card. Nobody. If you had bet, like, if there was a prop bet for this,
no, all the money would have been on Stone Cold.
Yes, because it was built up, right? They did a little like foreshadowing. There was a lot of like videos of Stone Cold looking like he was getting back into shape, working out. And it turns out they just couldn't agree on a monetary figure for his appearance.
Oh, really?
Whatever.
I thought I thought it was just a planned twist.
No, not a planned twist. They just pivoted, right? And it's so crazy that they had so much time to negotiate.
Well, because isn't his like whole podcast bit like part of the TKO WWE like media?
It was. I don't think it is now.
Okay.
Right. And even then, I mean, it's one thing to be like a podcast host, and another thing to like, all right, well, now you're asking me to be involved physically, so this is my performance fee. So I'm sure that was something that was hard for them to negotiate. It would have been great if Stone Cold come out. We see the classic old Stone Cold gives The Rock the stunner and then all that good stuff. But this worked almost just as well, if not a little better. Because
the biggest reaction of the whole weekend.
The lights go out and the gong hits, boom, and the crowd erupts. You could hear it. You could hear the crowd was shocked as everybody at home was shocked. The Undertaker comes out in his American Badass themed clothing. That was a gimmick of his, American Badass, when he was a biker. And The Rock just looked surprised as everybody else. He's like, what the fuck? And then just takes a choke slam.
The best part for me is The Rock just kind of looking for him. And they do that kind of slight camera pan to The Undertaker looking as mad as anyone's ever looked in the world right behind The Rock. Just
right? And a lot of people are like, how does The Undertaker connect to the story? It doesn't fucking matter.
It does not matter. Fuck The Rock. That's how it matters.
Yeah, exactly. Rock turns around, gets choke slammed. The lights go out. Undertaker's gone. The Rock's gone. And who is left Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, and in the corner, Seth Rollins, and there lies a chair. And this was one of the greatest callbacks WWE has ever done. 10 years ago, in 2014, Seth Rollins betrayed the Shield with a chair shot heard round the world. The first victim of Seth Rollins betraying the Shield was Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins takes that chair, hits Roman Reigns in the back, falls, collapses onto the bottom rope. He hits Dean Ambrose next, and he goes on to essentially just haunt Roman Reigns. This betrayal, as in storyline, now has been in the back of Roman Reigns' mind forever. He can't let it go. He can't let it go. And the build up to this, and I might ramble on for a second, but
Go ahead.
The build up to this was beautiful. In that, when Seth Rollins came out on a Monday Night Raw to essentially offer up his services to Cody Rhodes to be his shield, right? In his promo, he tells Cody Rhodes, there is one man uniquely qualified to be your shield, and it is me. And we need to look at that line a little bit, because the last time Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins faced each other one-on-one, Seth Rollins came out in full Shield gear, Shield music, the same intro, right? And there is a moment in the match where it's towards the end of the match. Roman Reigns has Seth Rollins in a submission hold, and the ref is telling him, let go, let go. And Roman Reigns is heard very clearly saying, he won't let me go. He won't let me go. Playing off to the betrayal, right? Playing off to this guy just won't let me let go of the past, won't let me let go of that moment that happened, that betrayal that happened all those years ago. He just won't leave me alone. It won't leave me alone. And so Roman Reigns is presented with an opportunity. He has a chair. He can go for the match. He can go for the title, right? He can beat Cody Rhodes. He can take that chair, take out Cody Rhodes, and go for the win. Or he could go and get his revenge. 10 years of pent-up frustration. He was left alone. He was sent through, in storyline and kind of in real life, because of the Seth Rollins leaving the Shield and breaking the Shield up. He was put through this tough task of being the face of the company that he really was not ready for, right? The fans did not love Roman Reigns for the longest time. It took forever for the fans to get on his side. By the time they got on his side, he said, F that. I'm the tribal chief. I'm going to beat people up, and I am going to create an empire. And an empire that we saw on this night did not have the strongest legs to stand on. Because we saw that all it took for Roman Reigns to lose this empire, to lose everything that he's built up, was to see the man that betrayed him in full gear. And he said, fuck this title. Takes the chair shot, and it's this cathartic release. Boom. Cathartic release, hits Seth Rollins, takes him out. Seth Rollins even does the whole, if you look at the clips from when Seth betrayed Roman to Roman hitting Seth with the steel chair, the way they take the shot and the way they fall and sell, it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. And it was in that moment that Roman Reigns sealed his fate. Cody Rhodes takes advantage of this by Roman Reigns loading up for his spear. Cody Rhodes counters, hits him with the crossroads, ends the story 1, 2, 3, and he is your new WWE undisputed champion. The story for Cody Rhodes ends. The story for the bloodline, and rather the story between Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, that reaches an end of its chapter here as well. And it was just a beautiful moment. And I can't speak glowingly enough about how it was written and how it was all executed at the end. It was truly cinematic, in my opinion, as cinematic goes for wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't even know about that whole callback thing, and I still thought it was amazing. And it, it's we talked about it earlier with I already forgot which fight, about the being distracted, being so single with the CM Punk thing.
Seth and Drew, CM Punk.
Yeah. So that to even have that callback into a callback type thing was genius. Yeah, that was really fun. I really enjoyed it. I obviously, with the Undertaker stuff, he's way too old to be out there, which is why it was so quick, but he still executed perfectly. Love a good choke slam. Not enough choke slams going on. But I really had fun with it.
And
we got then we got some fun stuff. Because right before he hit the chair, it's Rhodes and Reigns. They're in the ring, and there's the chair, and there's the Mama Rhodes belt, and that's when Reigns picks up the chair instead, and that was cool. That that Mama Rhodes belt's been used so much over the last few weeks.
And it's The Rock's thing, so it makes sense to pick up the chair.
Yeah, but it was nice for him to pass on that, which would have been, him taking his, like you said, him kind of passing on the opportunity to be his own champion or whatever, and then being distracted by the other thing. Not to repeat too much what you said, but it was fun. Really, I was really happy with that main event. I know a lot of people that I saw online were a little upset that they kind of started this storyline early, maybe was it the last WrestleMania, and that it took a full year. I think some people were saying they would have wished it was, maybe, I don't know, halfway through the year start bringing up this fight. It was like, it just seemed phoned in, the whole Rock bit. No, everything happened. But I think the payoff was so great that I don't even care if any of that's true.
So I think for a lot of those fans, they forgot what long-term booking is, right? With Triple H, he is old school, right? There is this thing, if for those who don't know what long-term booking is, it just means you plant the seeds for a storyline real early, and then you take all the time that you need to naturally pay it off. Now, I get it. In Cody Rhodes' story, there was a lot of moments where he was sidetracked for months on end, right? And a lot didn't have to do with the bloodline, right? It eventually weaved it, like his story weaved his way back to the bloodline. But that's the thing. It's the hero's journey. And then in the hero's journey, you don't always, you don't go from point A to point B. There's so many roadblocks along the way to where the hero finally achieves his goal, right? And that's what made it sweeter, in my opinion.
Then we get that really cool moment of Samantha Irvin kind of losing it, making the call.
When she was so emotional, like announcing the winner, and I love that because it gives like a real human element to it, and it just lets you know like everybody in this shit was invested.
Yeah,
everybody was invested. Even Michael Cole was like, this, like, I love professional wrestling. Like him saying that, people don't understand. Like, for I guess let me put it to you this way.
It's a lot of close to fourth wall breaking, because you could just see how much it means to the actual people as much as it means to the characters.
For the longest time, professional wrestling, the word, like just the term professional wrestling, was banned in WWE from ever being used under Vince McMahon, a guy who was ashamed that the only way he got any kind of wealth was through something that he did not love. He thought it was like, this is a carny act. I can only make money from this thing that I do not love. And
introducing the XFL.
Yeah, like this is a guy who just did not appreciate the product that he had. But with that said, he still created. He was still part of some pretty golden moments like the Attitude Era and whatnot and all that shit. But with that, kind of disdain for what your product really is, right? It bleeds into the commentary. Commentaries are not allowed to call these guys wrestlers. They're superstars, right? It's not a belt. It's a WWE title, a championship. You can't say the word strap for the belt. You can't use wrestling terminology. And once Vince McMahon was gone, right? That kind of just oppressive force was lifted, and these guys could be free to enjoy the product. And you heard it in Michael Cole, because he has been long ridiculed for just essentially being Vince McMahon's mouthpiece, but people don't realize that, because Vince McMahon is on the headset telling Michael Cole what to say, what not to say. Don't say it like this, all in like real time. And with Triple H, he's gone on and said like, there's hardly anything being said into my headset anymore. And you could see how good Michael Cole is as a commentator, as a play-by-play guy. And when you see something emotional like the end of this storyline, he reacts. And then it bleeds into as well with Samantha Irvin. She specifically tells everybody, I don't want to know the result because I want my reactions on the mic to be as authentic as possible. And she has the best seat in the house besides the commentary team, right? So to see that, it made sense for her to be as emotional as I believe everybody else in that crowd was. Because you saw the reaction, like I've seen reactions from wrestlers who were in the crowd, like Logan Paul, celebrities, athletes that were in attendance. They were all losing their shit as soon as that referee's hand hit the mat for 3 and Cody Rhodes was announced the winner. Everybody lost their minds. It was so beautiful. And that's what made WrestleMania Night 2 one of the best WrestleManias I have ever witnessed, if not the best.
And I wrote this down. I wish I know who. I have an idea who said the second part of this quote, but either McAfee or the guy that's not Michael Cole. I already forgot his name.
Corey Graves.
Someone Graves said, "What could this possibly mean for the bloodline?" Someone else just goes, "Who gives a damn?"
Yeah. So that was, I believe that was Pat McAfee, and Michael Cole said that. So
I liked that a lot.
That was great.
We get in the ring. We have Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, John Cena, Kevin Owens, and CM Punk was in there. I can't remember who else I missed.
LA Knight. What's the other?
LA Knight. Okay.
What's the other one? And for some people who may be like, oh, why were some of these guys in there? Because these are all victims of the bloodline.
It made sense. It made sense enough to me, especially since half of them were in the fight anyways.
Yeah, and most of them were victims of the bloodline, like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, Jey Uso. LA Knight was interfered with in his pursuit of Roman Reigns' title. And then of course you have CM Punk in there, who not necessarily like a victim of the bloodline by any means, but he is genuinely, I believe, friends with Cody Rhodes.
I thought there was some of that in there too. These are the guys that are going to be the most excited for him as friends and competitors and whatever.
Yeah. And then, John Cena, he had his own run-ins with the bloodline, Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa. So these are almost everybody in that ring has had their own run-ins with the bloodline at some point or has a connection with Cody Rhodes, and that's why they were there. And the person that was missing, who at the time when this was happening, I was like, where's Seth Rollins? Where's Seth Rollins? But apparently Seth Rollins was ringside. He just could not physically get into the ring, and was helped to the back by Kevin Owens. And
it would make sense in storyline that he couldn't do that.
Yeah. But they did show on camera that Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes did interact, and he said, thank you, I owe you one. And Seth Rollins like, you're damn right you do. And one thing that I want to kind of backtrack back to the Seth Rollins moment before I lose track of it. For people who are like, man, for anybody who complained about Seth Rollins not getting any offense in during the big everybody's interference thing, he was never meant to do so. He was never meant to.
Third event of the weekend.
But it's not even that. It is 100%. Instead of his help being physical, his help was always meant to be psychological. Yeah,
he's the shield.
Because he is the shield. He is the one who's going to take the brunt of Roman Reigns' fury. Right? It was all psychological. That's why he came out in shield gear. That's why he came out in shield music, to play to the insecurities, to play to the things, the roots of Roman Reigns' anger, and to make himself a target so that Cody Rhodes could take advantage of that. So I want to backtrack to that and acknowledge that, because I forgot that that's one point that I wanted to make and why I love that spot so much.
And then we got the really touching and emotional moment of Cody being able to hand the belt that his dad never got to his mom. That was great. That was really great.
That was amazing. Yeah, that was an incredible spot. God, that ending was just so nice. It was just so touching.
And then he gives a speech, which I assume is kind of is that usual?
No, not
No?
really.
Okay.
No, that like there's maybe like a handful of like yeah, they usually give like a speech going off air, right? Like thank you for coming or whatever. But for them to broadcast the speech is not something that I'm used to seeing. So
And then he
that
pulled
was new to me.
he pulled Bruce Pritchard and Triple H
Which,
up there.
Yeah, which is really weird for Bruce Pritchard because Bruce Pritchard is involved or he was mentioned in the Vince McMahon scandal.
Yeah.
As a figure in that. So that was a moment where like me and one of my buddies who kind of follows that whole thing. We're just like, ooh, Bruce Pritchard? Shit, that's not a name you should be mentioning right now. So that was a little weird moment for me. I didn't really like that, but again, I don't know. He's not been charged with anything, so
yeah,
that is what it is. Until
it's a tough situation of how culpable is everybody and some of that stuff. But then to a more positive note, at least,
it was Triple H that came out last.
There was
and that was nice.
And then Cody thanking the camera guys, and there was one that he like specifically was super excited, and I don't know if what the knowledge is of the fans, but I know that I've seen that there's like one guy that's been there forever, and I'm guessing it was that guy.
Oh, like Steve, something like that.
But like you don't see him because Cody's like going to his camera.
John Cena shouts him out every time he comes out.
That might be who I was thinking of because I've seen some of that. And then he hugged some guy in a suit, but I didn't know who that was. And that was the last note I have.
I don't remember that part, to be honest. There was so much
a lot going on. And yeah, you probably weren't taking the over detailed notes on your soju journey that I was.
No. Listen, I sobered up like halfway through the event.
I was watching it at like 8 or 9 a.m. So
yeah, listen, whenever we got to what match was it? By the time we got to like LA Knight, AJ Styles, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna take this in.
Yeah, you don't want to miss the entire main event.
Yeah, and I was like, you know, I'm gonna take this in, and if I need to take any notes, I'll just rewatch. I'll do that on a rewatch. But I didn't feel like I needed to take any notes. I was like, this.
No, your recall on that was pretty good.
Yeah, I was like, this event is stuck with me. That was such great WrestleMania.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. The first one I ever watched. It's gonna be tough to live up to, I'm pretty sure. But hopefully Triple H has some plans moving forward. And it is crazy for me to think that Roman Reigns is like still dealing with leukemia right now, right?
Yep.
And he's still able to go out there and do all that. That's just goddamn impressive.
Absolutely. And the fans, I believe on Monday Night Raw, the Raw after WrestleMania, they went and Cody Rhodes is like, hey, thank you, Roman. And the entire arena was chanting, thank you, Roman. And well-deserved by him.
Yeah.
What he did during that stretch run, what he meant to the company, and what he really meant to bringing back this long-term storytelling, this character of the tribal chief. Everything that he's done in the last 4 years has been
that's part of why I've gotten back into it is because of this storyline and the involvement of The Rock coming back and all that. That got me more interested in coming back into it. So he carried that. And we'll get to Raw SmackDown stuff, but it was worth noting in Raw they also got the "You Deserve It" chants, which I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, and rightfully so. I've never been big on Cody Rhodes as an in-ring wrestler, like his wrestling style, right? Like I was like, there's so many better like pure wrestlers out there, in my opinion. But what he does is that he makes you believe, like he makes you buy into him and what he's doing as a whole. Because wrestling is so much more than what you do in the ring. It's everything that leads up to it, your character, all that stuff, and he is 100% committed to everything. And I was like, you know what? I may not be like the biggest Cody Rhodes guy, but damn it,
he killed
if
it,
I'm
man.
not,
he awesome.
Killed it. I respect to that guy. He earned everything, and he deserves all the success. And it'll be interesting to see where they take him, like where they take his journey now, right? what's his new story, if you will.
And
Because
I almost got to imagine they're not going to let him hold that title for too long because of how long they had Roman hold it. You'd think you do some quicker turnovers.
yeah, and I think they're gonna tease the a build between Cody Rhodes and The Rock probably for
Yeah,
next year's WrestleMania, which
we'll
is
when we cover Raw, we could talk about some of what went on there because I've got some questions, but that's
we
not
can
for
we can
today.
address that. I was gonna say we can address that because we're only gonna fall behind the ball a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, does anyone know what The Rock handed him at Raw?
No,
Okay,
so
I didn't know if that's been played out yet in any way.
no, that's one of Triple H's long-term booking things where it's like, all right, we're gonna plant the seeds for their eventual one-on-one match because WrestleMania Night 1, The Rock did beat Cody Rhodes, right? He was the one who pinned him. So that I believe the working theory is that he handed him a watch. All right.
With like
Now
a countdown.
Yeah, and not a countdown. In real life, it is Cody Rhodes has bought Rolexes for himself, Seth, Roman, and The Rock because of the storyline. They're connected to this,
Yeah.
right? And after the match, it was reported that Cody Rhodes was gifted a very special watch. It was a watch that his father apparently pawned off. That his father pawned off to send Cody Rhodes to acting school because there was a time in their life where they had no money. And so Dusty Rhodes, being the great dad that he was, pawned a very expensive watch that he owned so his son could go to wrestling school. And apparently Nick Khan and Triple H found the watch, either found the exact same watch or found the exact same model of that watch. It doesn't matter which one it is, because it's the gesture that counts. And they handed it to him after the match as just kind of like as a present. And so there may be a working theory that watch, Dusty's watch, Rock in storyline, in kayfabe, handed that to Cody Rhodes. And he said, Cody Rhodes, don't break my heart again. People are like, what does that mean? What the fuck does this mean? And that'll be interesting to see what it means, right? It could mean that, hey, don't break my heart again could mean, hey, you called me to take over for you against Roman, and then you shoved me out the way. It could mean that. It could mean any number of things. We don't know, but we have probably the next year or so see what they build to eventually for WrestleMania 41.
All right. Well, do you have any final parting thoughts you'd like to say about WrestleMania 40 night 2 or just in general the both nights?
Listen, 42. I'm sorry, 40 night 2. Best thing I've ever seen. I've said it already. Like best premium live event that I've ever witnessed, start to finish, that WWE's put out in a very long time. Because I was invested in almost everything that they did, minus like literally one match in that entire thing, which is the street fight between.
Which was fun still.
It was still fun. It was still fun. So night 1 was a great setup. Night 2 was a fantastic payoff. I'm very excited for the future of WWE under this new era. And they're gonna bang your head over the. Oh, they're gonna. What's the phrasing? Whatever. They're gonna hit your head over
the head with.
Okay. They're gonna beat you over the head with. It's a new era for months to come.
Yes, that was already mentioned in the Raw the night after, and it makes sense. They're trying to move past the Vince era completely. Yeah. And just this is the Triple H era now, or it's John Jock, whatever his name is.
Paul Levesque. The Paul Levesque era. But you know what? For the first time in a long time, I can truly say that the feeling is back. The feeling is back. The want to be up to date with what's happening in WWE is back in me. I've been a pro wrestling fan for such a long time, but I always come and go because there's lulls, right? And it's you lose track of what's happening. But with how this is all played out over the course of this past year, from WrestleMania 39 to now, I'm gonna say it, man. I'm invested. I'm in. I'm watching every time that I get a chance. I have not missed a single episode of Raw or SmackDown since WrestleMania 40. Right? That's not saying a lot, but I've been watching.
And there's a
I've been
lot of
keeping
stuff
up.
to watch, man. So if you're able to
It's
keep
hard to
up
keep-
with it, props to you, because I just can't find the time to get through it all.
It's hard to keep up, but so far they've been firing on all cylinders, and I'm excited for the future of where this era takes us, and I'm excited for what that means for our program as we follow
Yeah,
along
no
with
joke.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm happy that you're excited about it, so that I can learn more and get further involved in this, because it's a great product right now. It's
Yeah.
As someone who's just hopping right back in, it almost feels like I never left off. So I'm
go.
really enjoying it. If you guys are enjoying this, like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, tell us what you think. All that
Leave hate
other
comments, love comments,
all
the
that other
comments.
stuff that you're used to hearing from everyone else. But we'll be coming back here and there, covering some Raw, WrestleMania, or Raw, SmackDown, and then I think especially for the bigger, larger events, we'll absolutely have some more extended coverage.
Absolutely. Don't tie us down to a schedule because life's
There's a
hard.
lot to watch, man, and
There's a lot to watch.
we might have to condense a month's worth of Raw and SmackDown into something like that. But we'll figure it out as we go.
Yeah.
And
So,
if anyone wants to pay us money, then we will be here multiple times a week to do it.
Absolutely. Anybody wants to sponsor us, WWE? If you want,
Yeah,
to
so I
sponsor
can
us.
actually use your videos without getting blocked.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll figure that. We'll figure out how to get around that. But yeah, thank you everybody for watching this, and until next time.
This is